As guitar players, we have all heard of the Big Four. The Big Four was known as the Big Four American guitar brands. Those brands being Fender, Gibson, Gretsch, and then later on PRS. I wonder if it was a big three, if everyone knew it as a big three before PRS came on the scene. Today we're going to do an ultimate comparison of what I call the metal Big Three. What the metal Big Three to me is Ibanez, Strandberg, and Kiesel. I'm gonna have to get a thumbnail somehow here. I don't know how to do this with 3 guitars. Let's see. It's funny because I have all of them like the Infinity Stones. Oh, that sounded expensive. For those of you who are new here, this is the Working Class Musician YouTube channel. I am Jimmy Franklin, and this channel is always dedicated to making sure that you get the most bang for your buck when you're buying new gear. So to be sure that you get to the channel before you overspend, hit subscribe below, turn on your bell notifications. You will never miss a video. You won't have to live in misery with a new piece of gear that is non-returnable. Some people are gonna say, why didn't you do an Ibanez headless? Well, first of all, you buy me one. Second of all, I think the Ibanez headless guitars, as good as they are, they're still kind of in their infancy and they're still kind of finding themselves. So once those kind of get to the point where these other two are, it just wouldn't be a fair comparison. So up first on the chopping block, we have my favorite, which is the AZ. Let's check it out on the guitar cam real quick. Oh yeah, she's sexy. Look at her. Look at this thing. Oh, you just don't get anything like this. It's a work of art. Ever since this guitar came out, the world changed. The world of guitar playing really took a leap. You got all your Chons and Polyphias playing the AZ. It's just such a widely accepted, awesome guitar. Whether you go the premium line or the Prestige, or even the newly formed AZ ES, they are all wonderfully built guitars. So first things first, I'm going to start down here at the body side. I think there's a lot of information going on down here. What we have is an alder body, which the Prestiges are available in alder. There's a few of them that I think are available in basswood, depending on the line you get. When you're getting an AZ with 2 humbuckers, you will get a 24 fret neck. Anytime you get an HSS model of this guitar, it will have 22 frets. There is no 24 fret option, with an exception of maybe one of the signature models. I had one of the premiums that was, I had the Scott LePage, as some of you know from on the channel, and it was an HSS, and it just sounded unbelievably good in that top single coil position. You have a Goto trem that is specifically designed for the AZ line. You've got a master volume, master tone, 5-way blade with the Dynamix 10 switch. And if you have an HSS model, the Dynamix 10 switch will be a Dynamix 9 switch. So you get a ridiculous amount of tone variations just with this guitar. We get stainless steel jumbo frets stock on all of these guitars. Stainless steel jumbo frets on all of these, as well as lumen lays, I think, on all of them. Yeah, every one of these guitars comes with lumen lays. I don't think, actually, either. A side note, I don't think there's a single hardtail AZ model. You have a bone nut up at the top, and then we have a set of Godot locking tuners that are very specific to this early AZ line. And you've got a really big sustain block in the back. The pickups on most models that don't have pickguards are mounted directly to the body. And if you have a model with a pickguard, they will be suspended in the pickguard. All in all, at a $2,000 price point, this is a monster of a guitar. As soon as you hold this guitar, you are going to feel supreme quality, like absolutely nothing else. Like, I first felt this guitar and I felt like I felt like the winds changed when I first held it in my hands. It's just super rock solid. Ibanez, since their inception, has been really good at copying other things. And that's what kind of gave them a bad rap at the beginning. Was they were just copying other people's instruments. But something that they do really well now is they incorporate a lot of different companies' elements and make them their own. For example, the Godot trem is specific to the AZ line. These pickups are Seymour Duncan's, but they're Hyperion pickups made specifically for the AZ line. Basically, what you're getting when you get the Ibanez is an amalgamation of a bunch of different companies blended really nicely. Getting the brains from Seymour Duncan involved, you're getting the brains from Godot involved, you're getting the years and years of Ibanez involved. Talking about Ibanez's years of experience, I could say that the years of experience probably went into making this neck. This is my desert island neck. This neck is just a work of art. It's a roasted maple neck, and it's super, super solid. And it even though it's hard, it feels nice and soft under your hand. And the shape of it, I was in love with from the first time I ever played one. And on top of it, which I think this is gonna be very important later on, all the AZs come with their compound radius fretboard. So it's nice and round down here for some chords, and it's super flat up here for some tippity-tappity, but it doesn't ever, it never feels too flat anywhere, you know? I love the little bit of push. I push and I feel like it's pushing back at me a little bit. And if you're coming from the world of Stratocasters, but you want just that little sneak into shredder world, this could be a really great option. Compound radius fretboards in general could be a really good option because you'll still get that feeling down lower on the fretboard, and you'll be able to experience a little bit of the forbidden shred world when you get to the top. I was in love with that. So it's hard to get me personally away from. On top of everything else, you get this beautiful, beautiful big carve and a nice rounded heel right here. And it's super transparent, and you don't even feel, oh, there we go. And you don't even feel that it's there ever. And I mean, like, not only that, but it's super sexy in the back here, right? Now, next up is the Strandberg, which, look at how beautiful it is. I put this up there. I mean, like, I played this, as soon as I got this, I played it every day equally with my Ibanez, and I would interchange it. Let's go over to the guitar cam and talk about it really quick. So check this out. Like, first things first, the color is second to none. Strandberg has so many really great finishes, which is one of the things that actually put it ahead of Ibanez a little bit to me, because Ibanez's finishes are good on the AZ line, and some of the other lines are just unbelievable, but we haven't quite got everything that we're looking for yet. And I don't think we've gotten everything that Ibanez has planned. I think they're just kind of moving slow and just throwing a lot of things at the wall and seeing what happens. And that's fine. I'm totally here for the ride. Now, the Strandberg is headless. Tuning stability on headless guitars, in my opinion, is awesome. I'm a huge fan of headless guitars for the tuning stability. It's one of my favorite things. Now, the body is basswood, which, if you don't know, basswood is really, really great for covering a lot of different tones. I think Guthrie Govan's Charvel is basswood. Don't quote me on that, but the point is that it could do a lot of things really well. You can make basswood sound like almost anything, and that's what I really enjoy about it. As opposed to the AZ being alder, where it almost gets like an ashy kind of sound, but with a tighter mid and low kind of thing. And it's not as wild as maybe something like ash. Basswood sits in between all of that. Now, in this case, you get Strandberg pickups 90% of the time. They also have some models that have Sir pickups in them. Also really great. I think that's what they started with, but in this case, Strandberg makes their own pickups as opposed to another company making them. So you're getting Strandberg everything in this case. Strandberg not only makes their own pickups, they make their own bridge, which is a work of absolute art. They absolutely knocked it out of the park with this bridge, not just in noiselessness and mobility, but also in how easy it is to work on it. This company wins when it comes to how easy it is to work on their guitars. Also, I just gotta say, I'm waving it around right now like this, and you can't do that with the Ibanez or the Kiesel. Like, look at this. It's so light, it's ridiculous. Strandberg is really great at branding all their little things. They put their little asterisk on everything, and I think something about it I love. I just do. 5-way blade switch, no coil split whatsoever, except for the splits that are in the middle. They do a wonderful job at making sure that the split sounds don't sound underpowered. Pickups are direct mounted on most of them, except for if you have a pickguard as well. And something else that's worth talking about this body, now, you don't have as big of a sustain block in the back, which is okay. And the other thing that I think is worth discussing is that the body is super comfortable. So the AZ, when it comes to the input jack, is on the back here, well, on the bottom here, and it's going down, which is really great for a straight angled jack to be out of the way. Only problem with that is if I wanted to sit in the classical position like this, the input jack will get in the way of my right leg. That is the only gripe I have with it. You get used to it. However, the Strandberg has these multiple cutaways exactly for different seating positions. 1, 2, 3, 4 if you even really like. I have actually sat with it like this and it's great. Input jack is also on the back facing down, but completely out of the way with this little kind of protective lip. Also would be great to use a straight angle jack off of that. It is so easy to sit with. Now here's the upside and the downside is that all of the Strandbergs look like this for the most part. So the trade-off is that there's really no different body styles, but the best part is there's really no different body styles. You like a Strandberg, you get a Strandberg. And with that, the neck we have to talk about. You have stainless steel jumbo frets, once again, just like everything should be nowadays, on top of a roasted maple neck, once again, but you have the ender neck in this case. And for those of you who are not familiar with what the ender neck is, I will explain it. So, the ender neck is kind of an asymmetrical squared off neck. You can see this is a flat spot that runs up the neck on a slight angle. What the ender neck is there for is to put your thumb in the perfect position through a multitude of different techniques, whether you're doing crazy fast shredding or you're doing even a blues technique where I find my thumb sitting on this top lip. A just brilliant design. Every single style that I've played so far, the ender neck serves in some way. And I'm not a doctor, but I'll tell you, I've had students who have experienced arthritis, and the ender neck really helps them. It's designed to be small, but feel bigger in your hand. Much like the design of the AZ, that's why I like it. The AZ fills your hand nicely, and so does this. These two guitars don't really subscribe to the idea that a thin neck is better, unlike the Ibanez Wizard necks. Strandbergs are all multi-scale. You cannot get a Strandberg that has straight frets. So you have to be into that sort of thing. And unlike the AZ, the fretboard is a 20-inch fretboard radius. So it's super flat. So that might be a shocker if you're coming from like a Strat or something like that. So be prepared for that. It's great, and it's really cool when it's mixed with the multi-scale. It's super, super comfortable. And I didn't even notice the multi-scale the first time that I played one of these, and I also didn't even think about the ender neck too much, and I didn't even think about the 20-inch fretboard radius. Just the whole package of the ender neck is its own beast for you to try and play with. So if you're the type of person that has back pain and hand pain and all that kind of other stuff, trying one of these is great because, again, it's super light. You have multiple different seating positions if your back starts to hurt. And like I said, people with arthritis have told me that the ender neck has helped their hands out. So when it comes to ergonomics, you will never, ever beat a Strandberg. I'm sure there's other companies that are now making ergonomic guitars, but none will beat how perfect Ola Strandberg did this one. And again, you're getting Strandberg everything. Every bit of this Strandberg is Strandberg branded. And that's sometimes cool to take pride in. That's sometimes cool to be part of. Like to say that you're playing a Strandberg because Strandberg does everything themselves. I think that's really cool. I mentioned this on the last one. The heel of this one is a little bit boxier than the AZ. I actually found that the AZ is more transparent than this at first, but on the newer ones, I hear that they're making the new ones even more round and clean, and I love that. So the AZ is really old school, right? It has a lot of old school ideas, even down to its body style, and this is kind of the futuristic side of things. So those two kind of sit pretty far on the spectrum. Ibanez uses a bunch of different companies together. Strandberg does everything themselves. AZs pretty much come with 1 or 2 options for bodywood and not that many options of finishes. Meanwhile, Strandberg is always kind of trying to update. They just released a whole line of sustainable guitars. Downside is that Strandbergs can top out at ridiculous prices, $4,000 or $5,000 sometimes. This one happens to be around $1,600. And if you find the right one online, you can get them for maybe a little less than that. Again, you don't have a 22 fret option with any Strandberg, and there's all sorts of little stupid quirks with both of these companies that you have to abide by. Whether you're talking about the Ibanez or the Strandberg, both of these you have to adhere to a set of rules. If you want humbucker and 2 singles, then you have to have a 22 fret neck. If you want 2 humbuckers, you have to have a 24 fret neck. Things like that. Only have the option of a tremolo on one of these, and you can only get up to a 7-string. Ibanez does make other 8 and 9-string guitars, but that's venturing outside of this world. So you can only get the AZ line up to a 7-string right now. Strandberg has a couple different wood styles, and again, they have like rules that you have to kind of just adhere to. If you want, if you want 2 humbuckers, any of the lower line guitars don't come with a trem. Their 7-strings don't come with a trem on the lower end. There's like one model that I found that has a trem and 2 humbuckers. If you want 2 humbuckers and a trem though, you also have to get a middle single coil pickup on, I think, the Prague. You can only have a trem here. Certain ones don't come with trems, so you have to be annoyed by that. So you kind of have to pick and choose. Unless you have all the money in the world to spend, then just buy a true temperament with a 7-string with a trem on it. I don't know if that's all available on one guitar, but you get the point, I think. You can't have all the options you want always with some of these. And somehow I've perfectly segued to, last but not least, the Kiesel. Now let's flip over to the guitar cab real quick because you got to see some of this. Now, some people are going to, oh wow, it looks so much darker on this camera. Oh God. Okay, so some people are going to say that I'm crazy and that I'm stupid for making this comparison whatsoever. We're going to start down at the body again. This is an ash body. On Kiesel, you can have any body style, any wood that you want for a body, any top that you want for a body, as long as you're willing to pay for it. Some people don't know, but Kiesel has been around since it was a pickup company, I think in like 1946 or something ridiculous like that. They're really good at keeping old school qualities there that are like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but also updating and, you know, and trying some new ideas as well. You can either have a hardtail or you can have their hip shot trim, which is awesome. I think it is buttery smooth, just as good as either one of these, if not better. And it is a little bit old school. It's not as easy to work on as maybe the Strandberg. This one has one knob. Typically they come with two, a volume and a tone. This is only a volume. Again, it's a 5-way blade and the in-betweens don't sound underpowered whatsoever. They sound great. This is an ash body, which makes it just, to me, ash is the equivalent of a mechanical bolt. It's just a wild, wild sound. And I love it. Sometimes trying to play with an ash body, you have to try and tame the beast. And it keeps you on your toes when you're playing. That's part of the reason I like playing this guitar so much. But the point is, if you don't like ash and you want mahogany, you can order it. If you don't like mahogany and you want alder, you can order it. If you want ash with a maple top, whatever you want, you can order as long as you have the money for it. Guitars, I think Jeff Kiesel said in one of the interviews, their guitars kind of average out at $2,500. You know, the AZ being $1999 kind of sits on the lower end of that, where you can get everything maybe you want out of the Ibanez and not have to wait 26 weeks to get your guitar. Because remember, Kiesels are only handmade in America, custom ordered. Their pickups are Kiesel pickups. They do them in-house and they're wonderful. They're some of the best pickups, and I'm only Seymour Duncan's ever. And the Kiesel pickups are some of the best pickups that I have ever played. Again, maybe it's just the ash body with them, but they sound wild and unchained. And now again, they're drilled directly into the body, which I personally like. Okay, very important. Input jack placement. Very old school. Straight jack out the bottom. That's it. Totally fine. I just put an angled jack in there and it stays out of the way live, and I love it. And actually, it's funny because it is easier to sit with it in a classical position when it's hanging out straight out the bottom as opposed to off the back here. That made me very happy that I can still sit with it in a classical position. And also, the Zeus specifically has this really nice kind of bend, and it kind of sits the same way that the Strandberg does. It's the same kind of downward slope here that cups your leg really nicely, and I really enjoy that. As far as finishes go, you can have anything you want practically. You just have to talk to them and call them, and some of them will be options that you can't return. Some of the options on a Kiesel are non-returnable. I have no advice for that. Do it if you want. I know if I order one, all the specs that I spec'd out are non-returnable options, and I'm kind of okay with that. I did try this out after buying it off Reverb first, and I think it was a good call on my part, because I definitely want to order one now. It's just a super high energy guitar that just makes me play a certain way. I need to get one that has a more wild paint job to fit the way I play it, honestly. Next, again, you have virtually limitless options, it feels like. For necks, this is a 3-piece neck, 2 pieces of maple with a piece of purple heart. Roasted maple is actually one of their cheapest options, and it's really nice. Their roasted maple is really nice. I had a Kiesel that had a roasted maple neck. It's awesome. This one has bird's eye maple on the fretboard, maple everything. I love maple everywhere. Huge fan of maple. Again, there's no option with this brand for anything that's not 24 frets. They are all 24 frets. With the Ibanez, you have 22 fret options with only an SSH. And then with the Strandberg, you only have 24 frets, and the Kiesels, you only have 24 frets. Unless there's a call-in option, which if that's the case, I'm sorry, Kiesel. You know, I'll correct myself later. They do have a thinner neck profile. I don't think this is one of them, but it is rather flat. And the fretboard radius, again, is 20 inches. It feels super flat. I like it a lot. I use it a lot, but it can get a little bit tedious for me to play at times. Again, I really like the give and take. I really like the push and pull of some sort of radius on my fretboard. And as a non-refundable option, Kiesel does have a 14 to 16 compound radius fretboard, which when I order my custom Kiesel, I am going to put on. Kiesels are available in 6, 7, and 8 strings. It feels like the possibilities are endless, but it's all about how much you're willing to pay. If it comes down to it, like this model could be around $2,000 before you pay the tax and shipping and everything like that. You can get something like this, or you can get a wild paint job on it, which I think is missing. Personally, I really wish that I could have an AZ with a wild paint job. My only thing with the AZ, I want one that's headless with a crazy looking paint job. All of these necks are either roasted maple or some sort of other really strong neck wood. They're all designed for comfort, and they're all designed for performance. So don't let that sway your opinion what's going to perform the best. Honestly, all of them are unbelievable performing instruments. I could play any of these every day for the rest of my life. The headless system that they use, I personally like this a lot because it's very clean, very tight, you know? I don't need my headless guitars to have a nub on the end, and this one on the Strandberg doesn't offend me. It kind of actually feels pretty cool when you get down here. It feels like there's a headstock there, but I really don't love the one that Ibanez is using on their headless model right now. It's not my favorite yet. Also, Kiesel is available in 6, 7, and 8 string, and you can get them to be multi-scale if you'd like. So I think it's kind of unfair at times to like throw Kiesel into this mix, but it's worth saying that if you're gonna spend money, if you wanna go out and spend money on a great guitar, and you've got like $3,000 to blow, you could put $3,000 into making your own Kiesel and you will get an unbelievable instrument. Remember that most of my gear in my videos is available in the links below from our friends at Sweetwater. I'll also have a link to the Sweetwater deal zone down there, which sometimes you can get gear for like 75% off. Or just like crazy other deals. So go check that out. I am lucky enough, or stupid enough maybe, to be the guy that has the trifecta, that has all 3 of this big three in some way, and I'm a huge fan of all of them. I use them all for their own things. I think we're very lucky in today's guitar world that we have so many options. It's the best time to be a guitar player ever, because anything you want is there, and it's all good for the most part. I hope this video was helpful to you in making your decision. I think Ibanez is mostly old school. I think Kiesel is the mix of old and new. And I think that Strandberg, I think this guitar is just the cyberpunk. This is the matrix of guitars. This is The Working Class Musician. I'm Jimmy Franklin, and I will catch you next time.